Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis, and I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner. And Mitch is off doing his thing. He is off running another marathon this week. He is in New Mexico, I think it is, for the, and I'm going to draw a blank on the marathon. It's the... I cannot think of it, but it's another marathon for Mitch, another state he is checking off his bucket list. That's probably going to bring him down to 10 states left for his 50 states. And instead of Mitch, I have way better looking people and way more knowledgeable about races joining me in Russ and David from I guess I can say both from Amway Riverbank. Well, from the Riverbank Run. Let's say that. Russ and David, welcome.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for having us.
Nice
we
to be
appreciate
here.
it, Lewis.
Yeah.
And I think Mitch told me last Saturday at the training run at the YMCA downtown Grand Rapids that it was his 40th.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said to me.
So that would be 10 left, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's I just had it. The Baton Death March. In New Mexico, which I'm really kind of bummed. We had both talked about this, and I kind of want to do this marathon, but he is really focused on getting his 50 states in. So he had an opportunity and left. So, but anyway, I hope it really goes well for him. Hope he has a good race. But we are here to talk about the Amway Riverbank Run and David with Guiding Light, a charity partner.
Right.
So we did this last year. We talked to several of the charity partners last year, and that was really some of my favorite podcasts to record last year because of the heart behind what they do, the heart behind Amway, even entering into that and supporting that. Russ, could you just speak to the charity partner side really quick? What is that? What exactly is that? How did it come to be? How is it different than maybe what some other races do with like sponsorship or things like that? Maybe just explain a little bit more detail. What is a charity partner?
So we have been doing the charity partners for just over 20 years. I actually talked with Scott Stenstrom from Fifth Third Bank this afternoon to confirm that. But it's pretty interesting the way they came up with this program. And every year, nonprofits can apply through our website and fill out the application process to find out how they can become a charity partner. We have a committee of folks that have worked together for years, and they sit down and sort of go through all the applications. And in any given year, we'll have any place from 35 to 50 applications come in from charities. So it's really a tough choice.
Yeah, because how many do you have in a year usually?
Usually 5.
5. Oh, wow.
So usually it's 5.
Okay.
And we, and the thing is that you develop such a good rapport with these charity partners. You want to continue to support them. So it's sort of hard to, But we invite any of the charities that are in West Michigan that want to be involved. And if they can use the race as a fundraiser, we encourage that. So, if we've got somebody that, maybe didn't get chosen or they've been a longtime partner, they'll come in and out. We'll say, hey, you can still use the race and, raise money any way that you can because we want to see that happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, we think it's really important to give back. So that's a big deal. So you already mentioned this year we have Guiding Light, and obviously David's here with us. We have Meals on Wheels, No Surrender Running Club, Kids Hope USA, and the Conductive Learning Center.
Awesome.
Out of that group, Conductive Learning Center has been a charity partner with us for quite a few times over the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
But they do a fantastic job of utilizing the race to raise money for their organization.
Say the name of that one again.
Conductive Learning Center.
Were they with you last year?
They were.
Maybe they just weren't there. I don't remember interviewing them. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they weren't there last year. Like I said, they do
maybe
cross.
They took a year off.
Maybe, yeah. I just trying, but I think one was missing. So maybe that was them. But cool. No, that's great. Well, one of the things we always like to ask anybody that comes on the podcast is either what got you into running or do you even run? So let's start with that. I'm just going to throw this out to both of you. Do you run? And if you do, what got you into it?
So I'll start, David.
Go ahead.
I have tried to get into running, and I can do a couple miles here and there, but it's not really. I've got a knee problem,
Okay.
so I walk a lot. I try to walk at least 3 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
So at least I'm getting that cardio in and a little bit of exercise and that kind of thing. But that's sort of where I'm at in my journey right now, at least until I figure out what I do with my knee.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Mr. Madiol?
And David.
So actually, Lewis, interesting story. So before Guiding Light, I was at Amway. I worked for Amway, and I was the Riverbank Run race director when we took it over from Amway. But one of my favorite questions, that happened to me. They came up to me a lot and said, "Oh, you're the race director, so you must run in the race, right?" And you can't see it on a podcast on radio, but I go, "Well, I don't run the race; I run the race."
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that was my little side joke, which sort of fell flat. But no, I did run about in my 30s, so that was about 25 years ago.
Okay.
A little bit. I dabbled in it. I lived in California at the time, so it was great.
What part?
I was in Palo Alto for 4 years.
Where is that?
That's Stanford University, just outside of San Francisco.
Okay.
Just south of San Francisco. So
Gotcha.
I'd get out of work and I'd run on Stanford campus, and I ran some 5Ks and some 10Ks while I was there. So I get it. I loved it then. Now my body too is just not really aerodynamic enough for it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, some years will do that. Some years will do that to you. So eventually you took that into somehow becoming eventually a race director for Riverbank Run. Then Fifth Third
had it.
Okay.
For
when you were the race director.
No, it was Fifth Third Riverbank Run for 40 years, right? And then we took it over. We took actually Russ and Riverbank Events and Media took over the race, and Amway came in then as the title sponsor.
Well, when you were the race director, it was always I don't want to say always. It was Fifth Third. It was not Old Kent.
No,
because it was Old Kent way back.
Correct. So it was Old Kent, and then it transitioned to Fifth Third. Right. And then Fifth Third had the ownership of the race, and the corporate offices in Cincinnati found out that West Michigan had this race that they thought they were sponsoring, but they actually owned the race. So the bank started looking for possible suitors that would take over the financial responsibility of the race. And that's how I got involved, and that's how Amway got involved, because we were having conversations with lots of large organizations in the community, and I was just helping broker some of those meetings. And eventually we figured out a way to make this whole thing work. And the company that I was working for was going to take over the financial responsibility of the race. And we planned everything out, and I got downsized. And so it was sort of an interesting time. And I was contemplating leaving West Michigan for a job in Miami. And I got a phone call from Scott Stenstrom at Fifth Third Bank, and he said, "Hey, are you interested in doing this? Would you be interested in taking things on?" And I called David and said, "You'd still be interested in sponsoring if I did that?" And he said yes, and we sort of put a plan together, and here we are.
So that's how remind me the name of your business.
The name of my company is Riverbank Events and Media,
which is not. That is not the Riverbank Run.
Correct. The Amway Riverbank Run is a portion of the company.
Okay.
So it's just an asset.
Which you do other things with that same company.
Correct. I produce the fireworks in downtown Grand Rapids for the 4th of July.
Okay.
I'm close to having a big announcement about another big event that we're taking
but not close enough.
Yeah, well, it's really close.
Okay. Well, cool. No, that's exciting. So so when you came on board, you brought in David to RD? Or wait, no, not yet.
No, during that process, because Scott had been the race director.
Right.
And so when we transitioned the ownership to Riverbank Events and Media, Amway became the title sponsor, and Fifth Third became the presenting sponsor with Corwell Health, the official health partner.
Okay.
So that's when David stepped in, and he took over as race director from Scott.
Gotcha.
And I was in the background, doing what I do.
Gotcha.
Which is where I like to be.
Yeah.
But as things have progressed and changed at Amway, they've asked me to step up and fill that role for now.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of which, let's speak to that a little bit. Being the RD, the race director, what are just some big obstacles and hurdles that you've seen and had to overcome since you've had to take on that role?
I would say probably the biggest thing was obviously COVID.
I
mean, that was, here we are. We were just getting all this momentum with all the changes, and then COVID hit, and my entire career has been sort of built around bringing people together. And so this was a really strange time for me because it's not what I'm accustomed to. So here we are, we're trying to get all these people to come and run together, and we can't do it. Everybody's got to have a mask on. You got to be this far apart. And how can we make that work? And those were really challenging conversations because with Corwell as our health partner, we had lots of conversations with senior management, and they're like, we can't support the race. We just don't have enough people there. We can't put our folks in danger. So we had to push things off and change things. And it was a really, really stressful time.
And rules were changing every, week, day,
yeah.
right? So we'd be like, oh, well, maybe we can go this way, but oh, no, we can't the next day, right? Yeah. It was tough. Yeah.
And if our memory serves me correct, you had to postpone the spring and basically push it to the fall.
So we had 1 year that we did virtual. So we did virtual for a year, and then I worked with the health department, and we came up with a plan so that we could do a drive-through celebration for the people that did do their 25K.
Wow.
And we had people that went out and ran the course. I drove around and handed out water to people, and
cool.
that did what I could.
Yeah.
But it was sort of fun, with the celebration, and we did that at Millennium Park, and it worked out really well. And then we thought we were going to be on track to be in person in 21, and that still got delayed, and so we had to push to October.
So 21 was when it was in October.
Yes.
If I remember that virtual race, that day was one of the most beautiful days that we've ever had for the race. Is that right? Remember that? Because we went downtown and saw who was, going, and we're like, wow, because the weather's always, you never know what's going to happen the second Saturday in May.
Right.
But that virtual race, it was a perfect day for us.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. How is this year's race shaping up? How are things? David was asking earlier, how's registration looking? Things like that. How is this year's race looking?
So fortunately, we aren't going to have a lot of changes to the course. The course is going to be real similar to what it was last year. It will be identical to last year for all three races, for that matter, the 5, 10, and 25K, which is good for the runners. We've had really good feedback about that. People seem to be coming back to running events. The registration numbers for lots of events are up, including ours at this point in time.
Awesome.
So we're happy to hear that. And as we get closer to race day, now we're really starting to get into the 5s and 10s that are signing up. They're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make that commitment. I'm going to sign up. So, right now we have over 4,000 people registered, and our goal is to have close to 10,000 people this year.
What is the normal pre-COVID numbers? Do you have a sense for that? Like, what did you used to have pre-COVID? Because I know COVID messed things up for a few years.
So we were floating right around that 10,000 number for quite a while. It just it changed so dramatically from the late 90s to where we're at today, due to the fact that there's just so many more running events.
That's true.
You've got to get on people, especially for the 25K. You've got to be on somebody's calendar because if not, there's going to be something else that they're going to want to go do. Mitch is out running his race right now. I mean, the people have their own individual goals, and we recognize that. So we're just trying to make sure we stay in that stable spot and have a really good event for everybody. We're adding some additional entertainment this year out on the course.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Trying to do the little things that sort of separate the Riverbank Run from some of the other things that happen in the community. We still are the largest single-day sporting event that occurs, and we want to maintain that. So trying to get people downtown Grand Rapids to come and see the event. and witness it. You've been on that start line, and you felt that excitement. And
it's amazing.
For people that haven't been, I just encourage them to come downtown, grab a cup of coffee, stand there, and then walk down to the start line and sit there for like a half hour and watch people as they express their accomplishments, and they're just so grateful for everything that they've got. It's unbelievable how exciting it is.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I'm thinking now, granted, when I normally do go down, I am usually running. So, but I will say what's always amazing to me is the finish line at Fifth or at Amway Riverbank Run. I knew I'd mess that up. At the Riverbank Run every year. It is one of the better finish lines I think that I've ever finished, and I don't know if it's because of the hill that you've. Well, is it on the hill this year?
No,
it's not.
It's going to be on. You'll end at Monroe and Pearl.
Okay,
so that
either
will be
way, you've got a really nice chute laid out for people to and man, whether it's the 5K, the 10K, the 25, it is just a blast to get to that spot and you enter it, and it's just it's energy, and it really is amazing. So yeah, I would say. Not as much, and I'm not saying don't go to the start. Go to the start. Check that out too. But man, if you want to go to the start, have your coffee, go grab a bite during the 25K, because during the 5K is pretty quick.
Pretty fast. Yeah.
They're back to that finish pretty quick. But for the 25K, go grab breakfast and then come back to the finish and enjoy the energy.
Without question, whether you participate in the Amway 5K or the Fox Honda 10K or the Fifth Third Bank 25K, there's something there for everybody. There's also the 5K community walk, for guys like me. And I think that that's something else we've seen those numbers increase a lot. And those people are the ones that are often they're coming across from that 5K walk close to the same time as the elites are coming in. So it's very interesting for them to you'll watch their faces and they're like saying, "Oh my gosh, did you see how fast that person was going by me?" It's pretty interesting. And then the stories that you hear when you're there, whether somebody's beaten cancer or survived a heart attack or their weight loss journey or their mental health stories. And it's been unbelievable to hear some of those stories and see what the race has done to impact their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing event. It's one that unfortunately for whatever reason, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way or too personal, but for some reason, I've never put that on my calendar, like the Riverbank Run. I don't know why it is. You know what? I do have a sense. I'm a golfer. You guys know that now. Yeah. And I used to golf in a tournament every Mother's Day weekend, and it's still on Mother's Day weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Saturday, May 11th.
So I would always golf Saturday and Sunday. And so now looking back, I do see why I never had it on my calendar, but I don't golf that much anymore. I don't golf in that tournament, and I have ran it several times now. I usually do the triple, the 5, 10, and 25. So when I have done it, which is always a nice challenge.
So, usually out of all of the runners that we have, there's usually less than 10 people that do that.
Yeah.
So consider yourself elite.
At least in elite and mental disorder, I would think. But it is fun. It is a fun challenge. If you want to challenge yourself, go do the 3 races that morning. It's fun. David, let's jump to you. You mentioned you did do a little bit of running in your 30s, and you got involved with working for Amway and then becoming the RD of Fifth Third or the Riverbank Run.
Right.
And so let's just talk about how you made that leap to becoming the race director.
Right.
And then I would love to hear, just looking back, what were some of the obstacles you had to overcome in doing that?
So I think the race director position that I had was, carried over from Scott Stenstrom, who was from Fifth Third. He was my mentor. So we actually worked together, I think, for 2 years before Amway took the reins as far as the title sponsor goes. So it was really, thank goodness for Scott, because I had had a lot of event planning experience, that type of thing. leadership roles, that type of thing was fine. But he really helped me and Russ, I think, at the time, sort of figure out all the pieces and parts, and then what the responsibilities were for the race director. Race director, well, it was a lot of just being in front, doing this type of thing, and being in front of the camera. We had a seat at the table. I had a seat at the table, and Russ was very good about Amway being the title sponsor, making sure that the types of things that we were doing, we were all in agreement with. But, as race director, he gave me carte blanche on a lot of stuff, which was great. Russ owned the race. I was the race director.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it. I enjoyed interacting with all the folks, the runners, the volunteers, the people, the charity partners. The media has been so great. The media continues to be a great support for this race. One of the challenges, I think, for me was Amway hadn't really taken on a sponsorship of this magnitude in quite a long time.
Okay.
So I think that it was a challenge and an opportunity. It was a ton of fun trying to figure out how we were going to support. We didn't want it. We never wanted Amway, and I think they're still the same way, is they never want to just support something with a check. The idea is always around how can we engage our employees? How can they engage their employees? How can we get the community fired up? That type of thing. So for me, it was, go ahead.
Yeah, that reminds me. Sorry, Russ, I'm probably going to test your memory here. Who did we have on last year from Amway?
I don't think we had anybody.
We did. I'm almost certain.
You had
he has an accent.
Will Templeton.
Will Templeton.
Yeah.
He mentioned something about how do you get your employee? How does Amway get their employees to be involved? There's something there. They.
So this year, what they're doing is that they're going to be out at spirit stations and aid stations.
Okay.
And so they are actually taking care of 5 of them this year for us.
Okay.
And they encourage their volunteers to do that. And if the volunteers had signed up, then they were going to donate an additional $1,000 to each one of the charity partners this year. So, matter of fact, they just made that. They just told the charity partners yesterday that they were going to do that.
Okay.
And they've already filled their stations.
They already fulfilled the goal, and Guiding Light, we received their donation today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
So, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
It's awesome.
But I think it's worth saying that over. Like, it's not just here's a check to help sponsor your race and walk away. No, they see that there's way more importance in, we'll support it with money, but we want to be involved.
And I think that Russ did a great job of bringing in, Spectrum, I think, was involved, but I think that Fifth Third and Corewell Health have the same, they're the same way. They're not just, Fifth Third Bank has continued a huge amount of support from a standpoint of board members or people on I guess it's not the board, it's the committee, your race committee. Those folks have continued their support, and it's a lot of work over, starts early in the year for the committee members. So they're involved there. Amway has stepped up, and that was one of what I was going to say was, the big hurdle was trying to get the volunteer piece. Because, I was shooting high and I really wanted to support the race. So trying to generate the excitement within the ranks of the employees to get involved. And we did real well the first year, and then, of course, the COVID stuff hit, and now they're continuing. I think they're doing a great job, it sounds like.
They are. They've done a great job.
Which is awesome.
And I've got to mention Fifth Third Bank employees and Corewell Health employees, too. Right. Fifth Third has continued to embrace this race, even though their name's not on as title. Yeah. They're, the presenting sponsor. But there's a core group of people there that are so driven still to help the race. It's just so much fun to see. And they have mentored a lot of the folks at Amway. And Amway's doing a great job now of backfilling some of those positions as people are retiring or whatever they're doing and going in different directions. Yeah. And Corewell, with their merger and all the different pieces that they've got moving, somehow are still finding people to come and help us. It's really been fun to see. Just because it's the leadership at Corwell that's pushing it down for us. That's saying, hey, you really need to get involved in this. And they believe in the event. They believe in West Michigan, which I think is so wonderful for all of us.
That's awesome. Speaking of volunteers, let's just, if you can, put kind of a number to it. How many volunteers does it take to put on Riverbank Run?
So we used to shoot for 1,000.
Wow.
And we've sort of settled in at that 750 number.
Okay.
It's really a good solid number for us. And it's just hard because there's, some of the places that we need volunteers, we need you there at 4:00 in the morning to help us do certain things. And, there's obviously everything on, we have a junior race on Wednesday at East Kentwood High School. And then we've got the packet pickup on Friday and the expo on Friday. Well, the medals still need all to be pulled and packed to sent downtown. That has to be done 2 weeks in advance. And there's just a lot of different things that occur that people just don't realize. I mean, it's like, the fencing just doesn't all of a sudden appear. I mean, no, it's pretty funny. Last year I took quite a few photos. I stayed at the Amway that night, and I was on the Monroe side of the hotel, and I asked for that side of the hotel specifically so I could, sort of watch what was happening as time went on, because I never went to sleep, but I went up there every couple hours and took pictures of how things had changed. And, obviously the difference between 5 p.m. on Friday to 5 a.m. on Saturday was vastly different.
Wow.
So
1,000 people, that is, 750. But so I imagine 750 is kind of like, all right, we're comfortable, but it's a lot of work. Whereas 1,000, you'd be like, woo, you're like, you're over the moon. But if you get like 740, you're like, all right, we need to fill some spots.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that we just want to make sure that everybody has an enjoyable experience, that every participant is safe. That's something else that we haven't really talked about, but the amount of time and energy that goes into working with the police departments in order to make sure that streets are secured properly, that the neighbors all know that the race is coming. That's something else that we have to take care of. We remind them every year.
Yeah, Laura Lee did speak to that last year a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and there's always going to be issues. We're going to have a street closed at some point in time where somebody needs to get out, and we do our best to work through that. Or if they contact us in advance, we figure out where we can get a car for them, or whatever we've got to do in order to make it happen. But
I have a friend that lives on the race course, and he has said every year, he's not surprised by it. And the thing, he's fine with it. He totally gets it. And he's like, no, it's really cool. They make sure we know, and we park over here, and it's no big deal. So I say that to say you are doing what you're supposed to do, but some people some people aren't going to get the message, even though you try as much as you can.
We try to go through every step that they require us to. I mean, we send 2 mailers. Obviously you hear all the ads on radio and see them on TV. You'll see the television networks cover everything for us and talk about it. So for people not to know that it's going to happen after it's been going on for 46 years.
Yeah.
I get it if you just moved here maybe, but we do our best to communicate to everybody.
Yeah. No, I think you do a good job. And you do see it all over, especially as it gets closer and closer. David, let's talk about Guiding Light a little bit. They're a charity partner this year. Number one, what is Guiding Light? What do you guys do?
Yeah,
and what do you do for Guiding Light? I don't think we've said that.
Right. So I'm the director of development, so fundraising and communication. So all the marketing that we do for the organization. So Guiding Light is a 100% donor funded, faith-based addiction recovery program.
Okay.
And it was built. We're celebrating our 95th year. We started in 1929 in downtown Grand Rapids. The CRC, the Christian Reformed Church, started us, and we were the West Fulton Mission is when we first launched, and we were down on Fulton Street on West Fulton. So we're learning a lot because we're celebrating our 95th. We dug into the archives and found out a lot of fun stuff, really interesting stuff. But we have we've gone through a number of iterations. People still think of us, and I was telling you earlier, Lewis, that people think of Guiding Light as sort of a Mel Trotter or a Dégagé Ministry, which are 2 great organizations in our neighborhood. But we're not a mission. We're, in fact, we used to say we're not a mission, we're on one. And it's,
I like that.
We have really transitioned in the last 12 years to focus solely on what we do best, which is addiction, substance abuse recovery. And it's been for 95 years, or 90, I should say 94, but we'll say 95 years, it has been strictly for men. Right now we house about 30, anywhere from 28 to 34 men in our Division Avenue location.
Okay.
It's a long-term program, unlike most programs. In fact, the men who stick with the program are at our division location for sometimes over 6 months, living there 24/7. And then we help them get work. And while they're there, at the last couple of months, they have 4 months of programming, a couple months of getting jobs, getting work, starting work, saving money. And then we also are blessed enough to have some transitional housing that we have continued to grow over the years for men. In Kentwood, we have a really nice hub of fourplexes. And we urge the men to move on from there. We help them with rent there. They're 2-bedroom apartments. They're not.
So they move into that and rent it, essentially.
They rent it.
Okay.
Yep. It's subsidized. It's a very, very affordable for them.
But it's another opportunity for them to continue their sobriety walk
in community, under our watch, I'd say, but with more freedom, right?
Yeah.
They have, and more privacy. They each get their own bedroom. We're not packing men into these apartments.
Gotcha.
And if they Lewis, if they make it through that process to a year, 78% of the men who have gone through that process make it that 1 year sober. When you make that 1 year milestone, it makes all the difference for your continued success in sobriety. So, and we're abstinence based, 100% abstinence based. We're not. If you drank a bottle of liquor a day and you go through the program and you're only drinking a pint of liquor a day, we don't call that good.
Right,
some organizations do.
Okay.
So strictly abstinence based. But I said 100% donor funded, so we take no government money, no insurance money.
Yeah.
So we're very we're trying to really build great relationships, and we are with the community and to show them what we're doing.
And I think it's important to be involved with or events like the Riverbank Run, where a lot of people wouldn't necessarily run across Guiding Light, but because you're a charity partner, hey, what's this? And they start, they might hear this podcast, or they might see the what do you call it? The bags you give out with all the stuff in it, the goodie bags or whatever.
Right.
They might run across that stuff. So I think it's really good you get involved with this, and you might hit tons of people who, hey, we were looking at a place to maybe support a little bit, or what are some other ways, it's great to get donors and things like that, but are there any other ways that people can just reach out and help and say, hey, I want to help, whatever, cook a meal or something? I have no idea.
So unfortunately, we don't really have that many volunteer opportunities like that. We are going to have a few, because we have a new, if I can jump into some, I'll go sort of take a left turn here for a second. So there is an announcement that we just made yesterday. And the big announcement is that we've received approval from the city on a property on Eastern, a big house on Eastern in downtown Grand Rapids, where we can begin our women's recovery program.
Amazing.
So for the first time ever in 95 years now, we're going to align a long-term program, align the men's program with a women's program. So it's a little different. They're not in sort of the 255 division's a little bit more institutional, more dormy.
Yeah.
But for women, we're doing it in a home, a nice larger home, and we're going to kick off with 11 women and one house manager in that program, hopefully midsummer.
So how is that different? Maybe help me understand this. One of the things you also do, you do help support women in another way?
So right now we do have 2 sober living homes.
Gotcha.
So we sort of started backwards.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Our plan was in 2024 to launch the women's program. the program, which is the front end.
Which is basically the same as the men's.
Yes.
It's the entire from start to...
It will be, yes. We're
Gotcha.
hoping it'll be a long-term program, just like we talked about a minute ago with the men. But an opportunity came up with these 2 other homes in downtown Grand Rapids that were already being used as sober living homes.
Oh.
It was a friend of our executive director, and she wanted to get out of the business, which was great. And she said, hey, why don't you take this over? I'll sell these homes to you with all the furnishings. So we couldn't really turn it down. So we sort of started on the back end with sober living, and we've been running those at capacity, and we learned a lot from running those for the last year now. Ultimately, those will become our transitional housing homes for the women. So we'll slowly move the women from the program starting, 4 to 6 months after we launch. We'll slowly start moving them into those homes we've already had. So very blessed that happened, really cool thing.
Yeah. I think it's amazing, in getting ready for this. I checked out Guiding Light's website. If you guys want to go there, I don't have the website here, I don't think. Oh, it's guidinglightworks.org.
Thank you.
So if you want to check out more about Guiding Light, go check out guidinglightworks.org. But some of the stats I thought just amazing. And again, this is something where I wouldn't have known this other than because of the race. So I think it's really cool that you have potentially 10,000-ish people that are getting introduced maybe to something like this, as well as the other charity partners.
Right. Well, it is interesting because, they're going to be, all the charity partners will be at the expo. So there's an opportunity for them to interact with everybody that's there. The other thing is that, David's got some staff members as well as some men in the program that are going to run. So, the runners are interacting with them because they're starting to come to training runs. Matter of fact, I saw 2 of the guys at training runs this past 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a full circle kind of thing. And, obviously, how inclusive the running community is. It's just so cool to watch all these folks come together, and even the charity partners. I mean, we had a meet and greet early in the season, and everybody started to collaborate on how they could work together in order to raise more money for their nonprofit. And nobody was sort of holding back ideas or any of that kind of thing. So it's just sort of a neat thing, and I think that's one of the special things about this race is that people come together and they know it's for the betterment of the community.
Yeah, I think anytime you get involved with organizations like even the Riverbank Run, I mean, where you're really trying to help the community additionally, but like Guiding Light and things like that, that's one thing I've noticed in a lot of ministry-based organizations are very, very different from any secular where, they do try to kind of hold their cards tight so that they can succeed. But with organizations like Guiding Light or other ministry-based organizations, it's a lot of, how can we help you? Here's what we do. Maybe this will help you. And I think that's just a good testament to we do have good people and good organizations out there. And obviously you're partnering up with them, which is really cool, and introducing tens of thousands of people to them to help support that. One of the stats a couple of the stats I did want to point out with Guiding Light that I think is pretty neat. Well, more than neat. It's really amazing. Over 300,000 meals served last year in 2023. Right. You essentially serve 3 meals 7 days a week to people that are in the organization or in the Guiding Light.
In our division location.
Okay.
For the men and the men in probation.
And could you explain that a little bit? Because it's not just to people going through the program. It's networked out to help people in the Heartside community.
Yeah. So when we talk about Guiding Light, we try to explain it without the focus, of course, is substance abuse rehabilitation for men, now women, and then our third part is our food ministry. And we're really lucky, blessed to have some large organizations, food distribution organizations in town who anonymously donate to us on a weekly basis. And what we do there is we bring that food in. We have a box truck. We go pick it up from the organizations, bring it into Guiding Light. We weigh everything. We take what we need to run the division street and feed the men there.
Gotcha.
3 meals, 3 squares a day. 3 nutritious squares a day, by the way. And then we take the rest of what we have left, and what we do for these organizations then who can't use this food that they give us, we distribute it to the other organizations around the community that need it. God's Kitchen, Dégagé, other organizations. So we have a really nice relationship with them. But the great thing about that is that, so the way we figure that out, Lewis, is we go by weight. And weight, there's a United States agricultural scale that so many ounces or pounds is considered a meal.
Gotcha.
So when we and ultimately that's what it ends up being, right?
Okay.
Throughout all these organizations. So that is it's an amazing number, and we're really proud of it. And we're so blessed by the folks that provide us that food. But we feel and also, what's great about it is the men get to provide service in that way too.
Oh,
the men
I see.
Go, they pick up the food, they help weigh it and get it ready, and then they help distribute it. So service is a big part of the recovery program as well.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome.
Can I chime in just for a
second?
second?
Please.
So the other thing I think that's really interesting, Louis, if you haven't done it, is to go down and schedule a time with David. And people can do that. His contact information's on Guiding Light's website. Yep. But you can contact David and you can come down and do a tour as well as have lunch. Oh. And the lunch is really always a very interesting time because the folks that are in the program we all have lunch together. So you're going to find out what somebody's story is. Yesterday at the luncheon that I was at, I met a gentleman and he was in day 3.
Oh, wow.
And the gentleman that was sitting next to me that was a guest was celebrating his 10-year anniversary of being sober.
Oh, wow.
It was just sort of, for him to get the knowledge from the gentleman that was sitting next to me and share that was pretty powerful for this guy that was just starting his journey. And you could see it in his face.
I love
wow,
that. It's a great story, Russ. That's great.
Yeah, and if you want to shed some tears, go to Guiding Light's website and watch some of the success stories I did before. And man, I tell you, it is, and obviously this is a really good thing. But let's not put blinders on too. It's a very difficult step for a lot of people to take. Right. And matter of fact, the story I watched, I mean, his dad essentially dropped him off at your doorstep and said, "Son, you're going to die if you don't get help." Mm-hmm. And I mean, that is, and here he is 6 years later, sober, or 6 years of sobriety later. Right. That is, it's an amazing story. I think it's an amazing thing that you guys are doing. And I don't think a lot of people really know. Honestly, because one of the things you said was, I think a lot of people look at it and they say, "Oh, it's a homeless, not necessarily shelter, but maybe a shelter, or they serve." And I have seen that building several times and thought the same exact thing. I did not know it was doing what it's doing. So again, kudos to this partnership and opening the eyes of a lot of people.
So I was at Amway for 26 years and retired from Amway, and then took this position on. And I remember the first week or two that I was there, and I think Russ has heard this story before, but probably 2/3 of the staff that works there are in recovery, successful recovery. Okay. A lot of them had gone through the program and then ended up working there.
Oh, awesome!
So I was getting to know them and trying to understand how I was gonna fit. And then the first week we had 2 different events, where one was a 1-year sober event where guys who made it 1 year sober, their families would come, they gave testimony, and then we have this amazing wall in there where they get to put their name up on their 1 year sober wall. And then there was another event, which I don't really remember, but talk about emotional.
Oh,
I went into my executive director's office on Friday, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I have not cried this much since." I sure didn't cry like this when I was at Amway. I'll tell you that right now. But just amazing and inspiring, but also sad sometimes too. Yeah. Because not everybody makes it, and you get as a staff, it's a really interesting job for a nonprofit because you are with the men you are impacting. You're with them. Your 8 hours that you're there, they're there. You get to know them. You get to see the change. We didn't talk about this, and I don't want to run too long, but body is a big part of body, mind, and spirit for us, and working out and running, which Russ was talking about. You get to see the change in their bodies. You see the change in their eyes are getting clearer. You see the change in their personalities. So I'm really lucky. We are really lucky to be able to be there with them, through their journey.
About that.
Yeah, it's pretty, a lot of times you're helping folks that you don't really get to know. And it's, of course, it's still great to do, but we're lucky enough to be with them the whole time that they're going through it. So
that's awesome.
Anyway, we're very grateful to Russ and to the Riverbank Run for including us this year.
No, thanks for sharing that. Well, hey, before we wrap up, is there any last comments either one of you want to make, whether it's on Guiding Light or your partnership or Russ, anything with the Riverbank Run you want to just put out there?
Well, we're just excited to have people come back to the event. That's the big thing. It takes, well over a year to plan everything out. We have myself and one other full-time person, Steve Morrow, who is our operations director. He is filling in for Laura Lee's shoes, and he's doing a wonderful job. And we're just excited about the fact that we can continue to bring this event to West Michigan. And it is a big undertaking. We're still home to the USA Track and Field Men's and Women's National Championships for the 25-kilometer distance. That in itself could be just one thing that would be, a huge undertaking in itself. Our partners at Wood TV are fantastic. They broadcast the race for us. So if you can't come downtown, you'll be able to watch it. There's so many sponsors that help us step up and make this all work. Meyer does a ton of things with us, trying to make sure that we've got everything that we need. And we're just so fortunate to have so many companies want to help. And they're encouraging their employees to participate as well. They want them to be healthy. So, they're working. We come up with all kinds of different incentives for folks to get involved, whether it be to volunteer, to run, whatever it might be. And if you're listening to this and you've got questions, go to AmwayRiverbankRun.com, click on the info tab, and you can send us an email. And if there's a way you want to get involved, we'll figure something out, for you to be involved with the race.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And can I say really quickly on the Wood TV part, I have watched I've caught it at times where I wasn't running it that year, and it has come a long ways. It's really good now. I think they do a really good job. And I can't imagine the logistics that go into being able to make that work, to follow the elites up front that are racing. Man, that has got to be a lot of work.
It is. I mean, thank you to Fox Honda. They've been fantastic to work with. They supply us vehicles to be out in front because we need to be able to have the lead vehicles out for the men and the women. And Wolverine provides us with the press truck. Yeah. So there's a whole group of people that are on that. And then obviously all the police officers that are helping us escort everybody through, and all the people that come out and cheer. I mean, that's what the runners really, really love. I mean, they love it when people are out there cheering them on. And that's why we've been working hard to figure out how to incentivize people to come out and do that and participate. So like I said, if you're a company and you're looking for a good team building exercise, we'd love to have you. And it's a great way to get out there and, show your colors and cheer some folks on.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And if you're hearing this, go check out, you said it's Amway.
It's AmwayRiverbankRun.com. And you can find out more about all of our charities, whether it be Meals on Wheels, No Surrender Running Club, Kids Hope USA, Conductive Learning Center, or Guiding Light.
Awesome. Well, hey, that is going to wrap this week's episode. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, do all of that. But with that, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know. And until then, be running.